Hi there. In this tutorial, I want to show you how to invert a list vertically and how to invert the list horizontally. So in this example, I have a list which shows a product column, a sales column, and a region, and I would like to flip it upside down in a way that the last record in my source list appears as the first record in my destination list. And then I would like to flip the same exact list one more time, but I would like to flip it horizontally. So what appears as the first column in the source will be the last column in the destination, and what appears at the last column in the source will be the leftmost column or the first column in the destination. Let's see how we do that by using a combination of index, rows, and columns function. I'll start by flipping vertically. I have a list which shows a product, sales, region, and I do have 12 records in this list. I want to bring the last record, record number 12, I want to bring it at the top of the list, and I want to see the first record at the last record in my destination list. So let's do it in one single cell by using an index function. So if I type equal index and then I hit the tab key, the index function requires an array, which is the range from which I'll be bringing a return value. And because I'm in the product column, I would like to select all the products. And then when I hit comma, what would you like to bring in this specific cell? Well, I want to bring the last one. The argument says row number. I want a value from row number 12 of this array. So I'll be typing 12. And when I close the bracket, the index function will be returning the last product. But this is not a dynamic function. So we want to make it dynamic. And to make it dynamic, I want the array to be floating horizontally when I copy to the right. And I want the row number to increment in descending order. Let's understand how the row number will increment in descending order, how to create an incremental list in descending orders for the rows. And in order to do that, let's say I want here in this row to get number 12, and as I go down, I need 11. So if I type equal rows, and then I hit tab, what if I want the row number of this range? If I close the bracket, what do I get? I get number 12. But if I put it in the edit mode and lock the second part of this cell reference and then hit enter, if I click and drag, I'll be getting an incremental list of number in descending order. Let's use this functionality with my index function. So let's delete, and then let's start creating our index function in the entire range by creating the function from the perspective of this active cell. I'll type equal index, and then I hit tab. The index for this specific column or for this specific cell will be the product. So I'm selecting the entire range, and look at this, because I want it to be a floating range as I move to the right. So A2, A13, when I copy to the right, will become B2, B13, and then C2, C13. So in this case, I'm locking the row number by hitting F4 twice, but I'm not locking the column letter. And then I hit comma. I need my incremental list of rows in descending order. So I use the rows function. I type rows, and then I hit tab, rows of this entire range. And I lock the second part of the cell reference, so I close the bracket, and then I just want to lock the second part of the cell reference by hitting the F4 key. Don't forget, we need to close the bracket for the index function, and then I hit Control Enter. When I hit Control Enter, I would have reversed all my list. I would have flipped all the records vertically. My last record is now the top record. My top record is the last record. And this is how we invert the list vertically. Now we want to do the same exact thing, inverting a list. But this time I want to invert it horizontally. And note that this time I'm not even typing my labels. I'll be doing that by creating my function. So if I want to create a function, here I want for the rows, I want to get row number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my index function. But for the columns, I need column 3, column 2, and column 1. So I'm selecting my destination range, which consists of 3 columns and consists of the same number of rows, and I'll be creating my function from the perspective of this active cell. My function is an index function, so I type equal index and then I hit tab. What's your array? The screen tip prompts me for an array, which is the source from which I'll be getting a return value, and I'm selecting the entire source list, but I want to lock it because I'm using the same array for all my calculations, so I hit the F4 key once, and then I hit comma. The second argument in the screen tip prompts me for a row number, and you know what? In the top cell in which I'm creating my function, I need to return a value from row number 1. And as I go down, I need row number 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to increment the row number as I go down. How do I do this? By creating a rows function. So I type rows and then I hit tab. If I select any cell in the worksheet, and then let's say this time I'm selecting K1, I hit shift colon, close the bracket for the rows function. I want to increment as I go down, so I select the first part of this range and then I hit the F4 key. I'm changing the first part of this range into an absolute reference. The first K1 is locked with a $sign, so it's not going to change as I go down. The second one is going to increment K2, K3, K4, and accordingly the rows function will be returning an incremental number in an ascending order. Now, the last argument of my index function, from which column you need a return value. So if I hit comma, look at the screen tip, now it says column index number. So I'll be extracting the column number by using a columns function. So I type columns, the one with an S, and look at this. I want here to increment in an opposite direction. So I need to return 3 for the first column, and then 2 for the middle column, and then 1 for the rightmost column. And to do this, I'll be selecting any 3 columns. Because let's say from L1 to N1, how many columns you have? Well, I do have 3 columns in this range. But look at this. When I close the bracket, if I lock N1 by hitting F4, then when I copy to the right, the difference will be M1, N1, which will return 2, and finally it will be N1, N1, which will return 1. Then, after incrementing horizontally in descending order, I close the bracket for my columns function. To populate this function, I hit Ctrl Enter, and I would have reversed my list. Let's apply some formatting to make our list look like the original one. So I can use the Format Painter to format the header, and then I can apply some accounting formatting for the sales amount, and here you go. I was able to flip my table horizontally. If you enjoyed this training video, like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in our next training video.